I remember the night it all started. The moon hung low in the sky, not full, but bright enough to lighten up the village like a quiet lantern. I was sitting by the fire at my grandmother's house, listening to stories of the old days when I first heard about Kamma and her mother, Uchenna. It was a year of terrible lack of rain. The rivers had dried up, the crops withered in the fields. People in the village were struggling, but Kamma's mother, Uchenna, wasn't just struggling to survive, she was fighting to protect her daughter. So one evening, she came home empty-handed, just a small basket of dried leaves in her hands. It wasn't enough to feed them both, but it was all she had. So that night, Kamma became very sick. She burned with fever, and Uchenna stayed up all night beside her, doing everything she could to comfort her. But it wasn't enough. Something needs to be done. But Uchenna wasn't the kind of woman to give up. So in the middle of the night, she made a decision that would change everything. As the night deepened, the stars scattered across the sky, and the village was asleep. Uchenna stood by the door of their hut, looking out into the darkness. Her heart ached for her daughter. Kamma's fever hadn't broken, and Uchenna knew that the only way to save her child is by finding the medicine that will cure her. She took off into the night, walking through the thick forest surrounding the village. There were wild animals out there, and the path was so scary, but none of that mattered to her. The only thought on her mind was my daughter, Kamma. She didn't know how long she had walked, but the moon stayed by her side, guiding her all through. Finally, hours later, she reached the old tree on the hill, the one the elders said held magic in its roots. With the last of her strength, Uchenna dug and uprooted the herbs that could heal her child. When she finally returned, she was worn out. She was covered in dirt and so exhausted. She had nothing left, but she still had her daughter, Kamma. So without resting, she gathered the herbs that she had found and made a soup. Carefully preparing it as she whispered to her daughter's ear, "Everything will be fine, okay?" She said it as though she barely believed it herself. She fed Kamma the soup drop by drop. Her hands were trembling. As hours passed, the fever slowly began to break. Kamma's skin cooled down, her breathing steadied, and she opened her eyes, smiled at her mother. The first thing she said was, "Mama, how did you find the strength to do all that?" Uchenna looked at her and smiled softly, brushing her daughter's hair. "I found it in you, my child. I will go to the ends of the earth if it means keeping you safe. You are my life. You are my jewel. You are the reason I breathe, and I will do anything in my powers to keep you safe. I love you so much, my darling daughter." And they hugged each other. The next morning, the village was so different. The moon had shone brighter than ever before that night. And I couldn't help but believe that sometimes love could move mountains. If you watched this far, thank you so much. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, share, and drop a comment. Don't forget to drop interesting videos every Wednesdays and Sunday. I will see you guys in my next video. Thank you. I love you.